We are live. What's going on, everybody? I'm going to talk rambling for a second. Let me know in the chat, everybody, how the sound is going. I know there's a bit of a delay, but let me know if we're too loud, too quiet. I will adjust our guest mic as we start up as well. But welcome to the chat. We got some guests from the last one, VR Ninja and Diversion, both in the chat. So thank you guys for joining this one. Hope to see you on again. Today, we got to look at Game of Mateo. You're already in the chat. Diversion, thank you for letting me know the sound is good. So we're going to jump right into it, everybody, just like last time. This is episode number 2 of the VR Arena with 3 amazing guests. This has been a pretty good week for news. There hasn't been much bad news. There's been a lot of interesting good news, a lot of things coming down the pipeline, a lot of things to be anticipated about. So we have some good topics to talk about. If there's any that you want to hear about, let me know in the chat as we go along. I will try to hit some, but I think we got a pretty packed schedule. We'll see how opinionated everyone is, but let's introduce the guests. Starting right up, we're going to start with Mateo first and his channel, Gaming with Mateo. Oh, I think we have an echo, guys, don't we? Hold on. We got an echo. Fixed. We're good. It wouldn't be a live stream if there wasn't an issue, guys. Now we've already lost, and we've... Yep, alright, we're back on. There we go. It's always fun when you have issues, but thank you guys for being patient there. Starting up, sorry the botches introduction, but Gaming with Mateo, or Mateo from Gaming with Mateo 311. If you have to check his channel out, he is slowly, or quickly at this point, training his daughter to be the next VR YouTube legend. Thanks for joining, brother. What's going on with you and keeping you busy in the VR world lately? Mateo, they're saying that you're muted right now, man.
That was the most epic speech. I can't.
I know.
believe
Everyone didn't hear you. I fixed it for you, man. But
They missed it. Damn.
that's live. Mateo, round 2, buddy. Round 2.
Repeat.
All right, you can't do that to me.
I
Can't
mean,
do that
I gotta
to
put
me.
you on the spot and make this hard for you.
it was a warm.
All right, so what did I say? All right, let's try and remember. Yes, Mateo 311, Gaming with Mateo 311. I do a lot of reviews. That's my primary focus. And then I do a lot of VR news, and I tend to just disagree with Eric on everything.
He does.
So that's basically what my channel's about. And I'm trying to push out something like once a day lately, but I'm covering as much as I can.
He does a good job on the daily. He's underplaying it, but seriously, sometimes I read some news and I already see his video come up. So he's underplaying himself on that one. He really is good at being almost on point with that. Next up, let's go to WiSHFUL. And one thing I did want to say is I cannot recommend more that if you need like gaming info, like right up to date, especially on Oculus, because I go to him a lot of times. I learned a couple games that came on Oculus Quest the other day that I actually did not know myself. WiSHFUL's the man for you. What's going on with you? And I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me 1 or 2 games that everyone should be paying attention to that they're not getting enough credit.
Well, first of all, I'm WiSHFUL. What's up, guys? I focus mostly on Oculus Quest. I do dabble in like other random VR stuff here and there, but yeah, I do a weekly news video every single Saturday. Everything going up with Oculus Quest. I do like developer deep dives where I do Q&As with different developers. That usually goes up on Wednesdays. And then just, sprinkle some stuff in here and there. As far as like games that people should be on the lookout, are you talking about like in the future or currently available?
Currently out right now that we just maybe haven't been paying attention to.
Virtual reality.
Ooh,
That is by far one of my favorite games. Definitely, I think it's going to be top 5 for a long time. It's just the storytelling through putting on VR headsets is like this cerebral, like psychological thing that I just can't describe. And it's like something that I haven't experienced with anything besides horror, as far as like immersion. But I really dig VVR. As far as like upcoming, No Man's Sky coming out on Rift. Steam and PSVR. Cannot say enough good things about that, but I am a fanboy as far as No Man's Sky goes. I just posted a video, shameless plug,
hey, that's what you're here
on
for.
how freaking awesome No Man's Sky VR is going to be. So
Well, welcome to the chat, man. And True in the chat actually asked about virtual reality before you brought it up, so I'm sure you made him very, very happy. And
Yes, go grab it. It is so good. It is so good.
And last but not least, we have the amazing Vivian Chazen. If you don't know her personal journey, I have an article in the description of the video, so please check that article out because she posted something that I guarantee will make your day better. She is Superwoman in the making. Thanks for taking a break from Onward from us. So what's keeping you busy right now, Vivian?
That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. First of all,
I know.
Well, I didn't know this was live. I thought you just wanted to have a meeting or something, but I'm glad to be here. What am I doing? Man, you guys are putting out a lot of content. So I feel a little. Well, I wrote that article for Respawn. I do a talk show in VR. Well, it's called The Hive, and so we really do a lot of VR productions, like off the wall kind of events. And we just celebrated our 2 years, so that's really cool. And I am team captain of an esports team for VRML, VR Master League for Onward. Yeah. And the Respawn, they cover all esports in VR. I am working with them. Like, I wrote the article, I'm doing some of their videos and directing, background stuff.
There you go. Appreciate you coming. And if you guys see her in Onward, run away. Just run away. But let's jump right into it. This one's going to be a little more targeted instead of a round table. We're going to go a few targeted questions, and then once they finish answering, please feel free to jump in with opinions. But this way we can keep things moving a little bit. And for those who haven't been
on the spot.
Exactly. And for those who have not seen the stream last time, basically we'll be going through certain questions, letting each person give their opinion, a little time for debate before moving on to the next topic. If there's anything you want to talk about, I will try to hit them as we have time in the comments. And make sure if you can, leave a like for the stream. That'll push it out, get VR out to more people, and make sure to subscribe for more. But going right into the first question, guys. VR MMORPGs, or VR MMO-like games. And I say like because everyone has different opinions on what an MMO is, so I don't want to get into that debate. But they've been popping up a lot in VR lately. There's about 3 that are in the news lately. You have Nostos, No Man's Sky, I'm going to count that in there, and Zenith. You have No Man's Sky officially coming out this month. Nostos just officially said they will be out this year by Q4. And I've got 3 questions on this one for each of you. Mateo, we're going to start with you. Do you think VR MMORPGs like games, or do you think they're what VR needs? I know you made a video about this today. But, is this the MMO we've been waiting for? Why do we need these, or do we actually need these?
So, all right, let's attack all those topics. There is definitely a need. There's a gap that needs to be filled. Gamers do want that experience. I think, we've been thinking of that since we were kids. We saw The Matrix, Ready Player One. You want to jump into that world. I mean, it even goes back to playing Dungeons and Dragons on a board game. You want to tell a story and you want to live in that world. It really excites you. So there is definitely a need for those type of games. And the fact no one's making them. They don't exist in VR right now. You have Orbis, which I don't like.
Yep.
It just did nothing for me. So you have Orbis and really nothing else. There's also people who just really love to game. They want to just sit back and chill in a game for 3-4 hours. Personally, VR, I think that's not really possible. VR fatigue kicks in for me quite often. So if I'm going to do 2 hours, I'm shot, depending on the game. But like if I do a normal day, watch my kids, go to the gym, and 2 hours of VR, I am done.
Yep.
That's it. I'm not moving. So, your average gamer isn't this, super in shape person. So yes, there's a need. Yes, there's a want, but I think it can't be traditional MMOs in the way that we're used to them. It's just, I think fatigue is a major issue, unless you're doing seated VR, but then you're kind of ruining what VR is.
Anything to add, Vivian or WiSHFUL?
Go ahead, WiSHFUL.
Well, I completely agree. As far as like the fatigue aspect goes, like sometimes I don't even feel like putting on a headset, let alone running around doing all these different activities, doing a bunch of stuff just to make barely any progress. I feel like that's a big concern, especially with MMOs. It's like you sink a lot of time in an MMO. And it's like I don't want to just be sitting there like slashing trees or like hitting like grinding basically
Yes.
for hours in a VR headset. And but like what was it, Zenith? They're saying that they're going to do some kind of like AI character system for when you're offline. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. They mentioned that to Eric as well as myself. I'm unsure. I'm a little skeptic about that, honestly, but I guess we'll see how that works. I just hope that like they don't put too much emphasis on like you can play this offline and when you come back you're level 36 or something, like, you know. But I guess we'll see.
All you, Vivian.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna. Okay. I love Orbis. Not because I play it all the time. The guys are really cool. They were guests of mine. So they were guests before it came out. I like the idea of it, and I'm just gonna make fun of myself here. I don't know games really. I mean, I just really started, and actually on the show I was like, "What's a MMO?" And they're like, "It's an MMO." I was like, "Okay." So now so if you ever see Orbis, people say it's a MMO. I think they'll know what it means. So I really I did a lot of social VR, so we moved over to a lot of people moved over to Orbis because there's a lot more to do, and so a lot of people have been, you know, like steadily going through it. And so I think it's really the social aspect that they liked in All Space VR Chat, but with something to do and incentive. But you know, you guys sound like you have like a life, because you know, not being able to do VR for that long, I wish I could be like, yeah, I only do VR for a little bit and I go out and have fun and stuff. But no, I mean, like
that's not the case at all.
Yeah, no,
we're
because
faking it.
Okay. Well, then stop faking it. And also, I just saw the chat again. Holy shit, a lot of people watch you. That's awesome.
I think it's just mental more than physical, as far as like me not wanting to like be in VR for too long. It's like I work at an office job, so like I'm using my mind a lot and I'm on the computer a lot. And when I come home, it's like I put on the VR headset and it's like it's fun for a few hours, but like that's it. That's all I can handle in one day.
I probably should mention also, I think I don't want to downplay the game because it has a huge player base and is an MMO as well as Township Tale. That's doing very well as well, and I probably should have mentioned that because I think it's probably doing the best out of all of them right now. Or I guess out of that in Orbis, it is doing the best. I think Township Tale is probably the one that everyone should target. Is hey, we need to do better to pull some of that market.
Okay, I haven't really checked out Township Tale yet. I did check out Orbis, and I was not like impressed. Like, it just felt very clunky.
Township Tale, a lot of people say no. It's the MMO to play.
That sounds great.
So I did pull Nostos up in the background for a reason, because WiSHFUL, I did want to ask you a question specifically about this game, although it probably applies to other MMOs as well. But do you have any concerns for this game? I know you've kind of followed it a little bit. In the sense
a little
you
bit.
know, it's had a very brief closed beta, and they're saying, and that's it. I mean, brief alpha. It's not even a beta yet.
Yeah.
And they're promising a lot by the end of Q4. And that's interesting.
I haven't really been following this game all that closely, honestly. As far as like, I know that it's not technically considered an MMO. It's like an online RPG. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. But they are promising a lot really early. I don't know how far necessarily the development is, and they're saying it's going to come out this year, right? So,
yep.
I mean, it must be well along. I mean, I've seen a lot of coverage on it. I've seen they've thrown out trailers and gameplay and all that kind of stuff. So I expect big things. I mean, it does look really, really good. I'm impressed by everything I've seen so far. So.
And Vivian, actually, one thing I want to ask for you as well, because I don't want to. We can go down a rabbit hole with Nostos, and I don't want to just be negative on it, because there's definitely a lot of positives that you can see just from the gameplay. Even in alpha, that does look pretty good. But you being an esports player, you know, with Onward, there's a huge social aspect to that game, kind of what you brought up earlier. What do you see being more valuable for the social multiplayer scene? Is it a large MMO-like game, one like even VR Chat? I mean, kind of like a game like that where just a lot of people in it doing anything, or are the competitive scenes going to emerge first, like competitive shooters like Onward, things like that, when it comes to a social game and hitting the mainstream especially?
Well, so actually, but if I had anything to do with it, of course VR esports is gonna rule the world. With social VR, I started out with All Space, right? And I know you mentioned how I said in my article that the most violent game I played was Fruit Ninja before I played Onward. It's a true story. So, yeah, social VR, we really just like hung out and talked. And then it's like, I don't have that many feelings, so I want to do things, right? So that's what I think that we really need. And I see that the decline, like high fidelity is moving into more like enterprise level. Alt space has like dipped. Also, the Altspace is like doing an overhaul and stuff like that. So, you know, I think they're going through a little growing pains. I think it's going to pick up once the Quest comes out, or when they're out on the Quest. And VR chat, I think, has so much content. Like there's just so much you can do in there. So that even if you don't want to be social, you can go explore. You can all do things. But some of my favorite social ones are like Anyland, because you could do stuff, and they're like build things creatively and be social. For Onward, what I love about Onward in the community, I talked about in the article, but you really need to have devs who like they're kind of involved with the community, and the League players, we talk a lot, and there's a lot of input, and there's a lot of like passionate people, and you would think like after playing 5 hours of uplink on Onward, you'd get tired, but a part of it is like wanting to play with people that you want to kill, just trying to get better. I mean, there's just so much to it that it's more than just like want to go in and win. It's just catching up with friends, and then beating people you don't like. I'm watching you. Oh, hey, German Rifter. So yeah, there's VR esports is great, but the big thing that I really like about it is that it allows all kinds of people to get involved.
Yep.
So casters, devs, journalists, players, designers. There's just so many aspects that people can get involved with esports. So I really think that that's like really needs to be like upfront and center.
Any closing thoughts on this MMO talk, things like this, Mateo? WiSHFUL, I don't want to spend all the time on this, but it's I could easily, so I'm kind of forcing myself to move on.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could go on forever about it, but at the end of the day, it's something we need. There is a space for it, but there's got to be some tweaks made, for the VR world. The grind cannot be the same.
Yeah.
So, moving on to one more game topic before we get to a little bit of hardware talk, is, of course, Red Matter. This kind of got a lot of attention this week for good reasons, and basically, for those who don't know what Red Matter is, I do want to give you a super brief overview. It's basically a VR puzzle adventure game set in kind of like a sci-fi Cold War type deal. It came out a while ago, and now it's going to be coming to the Quest. The real news of it, though, not just that the game's a pretty decent game, is that you'll see in the background here comparisons between the PC version versus the Quest version now, and it is tremendously, at least in the trailer, upgraded. And I want to start with WiSHFUL direct on this one. I've seen it both ways. There's the healthy group that believes in that's going to be flawlessly what it is, and there's the other group that's questioning how. But do you think graphics like this, did you think they were possible in the Quest, and do you think once you play it, they're going to match up to what you're seeing here?
Okay, so I definitely think graphics like that are possible on the Quest. I don't think that they would put out a video like that showing before and after without some actual, it's very clearly, it's running on a Quest. So it is possible. My main concern with that, though, is what is the frame rate going to be like? Are we going to see significant frame rate drops because of that? Because that's the first time we've seen graphics that are this good on the Quest. And they use like terms that I can't comprehend because I'm not a developer by any means. But one thing I did see in there was ray tracing. How is ray tracing going to work on the Quest? That's something that I'm a little bit skeptical about. And I do like how they do like the reflections on the glass and all that kind of stuff. So that looks really cool. I never got to play this game on like PC VR or PSVR, but I am definitely going to check it out when it comes on the Quest. But so far, I mean, it looks great. It looks like the best quality graphics on the Quest to date. So
hands down.
Definitely, it's on my radar for sure.
Yeah, the ray tracing thing was the one that got me the most. I'm kind of with you on that. The second I saw that, because I remember watching those, what's that YouTuber? I forget his name. The one who did the ray tracing Minecraft video. And I just saw that. I'm like, I'm sure his computer's dead. Like, if he plays it anymore, unless
Yeah,
he's got
'cause,
a
like,
rig.
isn't ray tracing like a brand new thing? Like PS5, Xbox 2 are gonna have ray tracing, and like only newer graphics cards can do that. So like, how are you doing that on a mobile chipset?
I have no idea. That's why
But I
that's
mean,
my
they might be
skepticism.
some kind of magic to it. Who knows? But I guess we'll just have to wait and see for that.
And Mateo, you know, you and I have a history of disagreeing respectfully, which I love, and I know you'll be brutally honest. Does this kind of utilization? There's the Quest supporters and there's Quest naysayers on different aspects, but does this utilization, just if this is true, straight up elevate the status of the headset now? Do you think it can run games we expected it to not be able to, and all that?
So I feel like the Quest has actually already proven itself. It's a mobile processor. So, a type of person like me who's, just upgraded to a 2080 Ti looks at the mobile processor and mocks it. What they've managed to pull off, and a lot of developers that I've actually spoken to who are doing development now on the Quest, because I like to cover and do a comparison. This is super hot, on a Vive Pro or on the Index, and this is super hot on the Quest. And I like to do a comparison side by side. So I've spoken to a lot of developers about this. What they managed to do is really good. The Quest has proven itself. It's a great device. It makes it opens up the market of VR to so many people who would never experience it. It is, it's just, I think it's already proven. As far as does this elevate it more? Well, I really got to get my hands on it and see it for myself. Again, frame rate is a concern. Right off the bat, the frame rate is already going to be reduced. On the Quest because it's only running at 72 hertz.
Yep.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not a huge difference between, 90 FPS and 72 FPS, but it's a difference. There's also most likely some techniques used like foveated rendering, which you just don't see in the actual video. Sometimes you really got to look out for them. Like even on the PC, Wolfenstein, someone noticed foveated rendering in one of my videos because I had it turned on. It was an option. And they're like, oh no, the anti-aliasing is terrible. Look at the window in, 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. And I'm like, oh no, you're seeing foveated rendering. That corner is just at super low res. And I've actually noticed the foveated rendering in like Vader Immortal.
Yep.
So it's a very capable device. They're doing a great job. But, the seams are there. I don't think this actually elevates it. I think it's proven itself already. And at the same time, just with regards to ray tracing, yes, ray tracing is a new technology. The newer RTX cards have specific hardware designed for ray tracing. This is probably their own in-house software, very specific ray tracing in just very particular areas, like just ray traced from this one object or from this window into the room, because you can't do full-fledged ray tracing because you need like a 2080 Super to run a game that's 10 years old, to run Quake with full-on ray tracing at 60 FPS. It's just, that's too much information. Like if you go back to like the old, not old, but if you go back to the animations, like Incredibles, those animated shows, they introduced ray tracing in those to make them look amazing. That's why, the Incredibles look so good. But they had a day to render like frames, yes, you can make it look amazing, but it just sit there for a day rendering, to pump out a couple frames. So it's a different world. Ray tracing is super intensive. So it's not,
tracing,
I feel like that's more of a buzzword that they used here.
That could be true. Onakaze in the chat, I didn't know this, but apparently when NVIDIA unveiled ray tracing, there were people posting videos of demos done on phones from a couple of years ago. So I don't know, it might be kind of what you said, though. The ray tracing could have been just a word track on that one. But it's interesting. And I do want to move away from games, though, because they're fun and all, but I think the biggest thing this week, of course, was the Cosmos, which I had to get into because I have a lot of thoughts on it. But Vivian, I got a question for you. I know you said you don't play a lot of VR games. This is kind of your starting, but I know you follow it. Before we get into specifics on it, are we past the headset hype already? Is there hype still for the Cosmos, or are we getting just overwhelmed with how many headsets this year have already been?
Oh, well, I think we've already established that 2019 is like the year for hardware. I mean, for me, since I work more with hardware on the enterprise side, I have a different aspect of it, So to me, there is a lot, but there's also a good reason for different products. So, well, I don't know what I can say, but for some of these, it's like the Quest, for example. I can speak about the Quest. It's important for what I do is I work with a nonprofit, right? And I work with technology to help reduce loneliness, isolation among older adults. So to me, having these mobile devices is great. It's a way to connect, and which is why I really like love social games, because that's kind of like what we're trying to do.
Yep.
And Quest is great. It's a bit heavy, but I've tried, like, when we try like the Focus and just all these other ones. There's even some from China that have brought in, that are vendors, kind of like try them out. So for me, there's still room for it, because there's room for like lighter headsets. There's room for like different types of comfort levels, and for different mobility issues. So I think there's still more, and there's still room. I really like that. No one's we haven't picked one, like, okay, that's it and that's the one. I love the hype around it, and I love it when at least one person be like, you know what, I returned my index or something like that. Like, so definitely, I'm still looking forward to it. I think there's just like not enough hype, really. We need to push it out to everybody.
I'm just going to throw this to the floor. Whoever wants to pick it up. We know that price that came up recently was apparently still not the real price.
Yeah.
But yet it's not the real price, but we're not going to tell you the real price. Guys, what's the real price? What's it going to be?
I mean, we can't have this discussion without talking about the marketing. I mean, I think this means a lot to people.
It's in the background for a reason.
I mean,
Oh
come
my
on.
God.
The marketing has been a little crazy. You've seen my whole fiasco with
Yes.
them, that I tweeted at them and they responded, yeah, here come updates. And we got a freaking spinning helmet.
Dude, I thought you were going to be the
Oh my
Messiah there,
God.
getting the information pumping, but nope.
I mean, but that price, $699, is a price that I thought it would be priced at, and a price that I actually thought was reasonable. It's not cheap. It's not a Rift S competitor. I wasn't expecting a Rift S competitor. But on paper, it looks like a solid headset. And I absolutely want it because I have a wireless adapter. So I don't like my Vive Pro. I'm getting rid of that thing. But this will be my HTC product. I have Oculus. I have HTC. I have Valve. This will be my new HTC product. I want it. I want to use the wireless adapter. And on paper, it looks great.
It's honestly,
I like
it is an
so many
upgrade.
things they're saying.
Yeah, it's an
But
upgrade to the
it
Rift
could
S
turn
for
out to
sure.
be crap.
So I'm not super well versed on the Cosmos. So why do you guys think that it's like so expensive compared to like Rift S or Quest? Isn't it like
Because
it's
it's HTC.
standalone, right?
No, it's not.
It's not. What's the standalone one that HTC's doing? Aren't they doing a
That's the Focus, but
The
that's really-
Focus,
yeah,
okay.
but that's more enterprise.
that's enterprise? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So then what
the
makes this one so
Cosmos
special then?
has the ability to tether to a phone. That ability will not be present at launch. They also do not know what type of phones they're going to be exactly. There are some who have current flagship models of Samsung that apparently are not going to work with it. So it's a lot of ambiguity up on that right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it has a cord that you plug into the
Yes.
PC,
It is-
but then
it
you
is-
can also take it wireless?
Yeah.
We don't know.
So this is the problem. Marketing is just like showing a phone connected to it
Yeah, it's really shady. It's hard to tell.
saying like future updatability. Speculation is the newest Qualcomm chips. They have like the USB-C video output, so they'll be able to work with it. And if that's true, that's kind of a game changer, because you have a VR headset, a PC VR headset that can compete with the Index spec-wise. We don't have all the specs, but it looks like it can kind of compete with the Index specs-wise, and then can compete with the Quest if you have a nice phone.
They still haven't even said the field of view yet. They're still hiding that. I mean, just give that one out. That's an easy one. I mean,
if you notice, the virtual link cable just failed for Valve, so they gave up on virtual link, and the USB-C connection is virtually the same thing. I don't know, maybe they're running into problems. Like, there's got to be something going on. Why do they just like? Does no one know how to market a product, or is something broken, or
Vivian,
I don't know what it is.
I'm very curious because I know, like you said, you have a lot more experience with the Quest. But I mean, I see you on Twitter, so I know you probably get VR alerts from everybody. What's it coming off to the Cosmos to you? Like, does it make sense? Do you understand anything about it, or is it just this headset out there in the ether?
So I do know some things. Like,
Yeah.
I can only I don't want to be one of those people that, oh, I know stuff that's coming up. Well, I'll just speculate along with everybody else then. Well, the public thing about HTC is where they are putting their focus on their products. So you know, like a lot of people have tried the Focus, right? But they are focusing more on enterprise level, which is
Yes.
where they
Yep.
put a lot of money into like healthcare realm. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that they're trying to do. I think it's like maybe like feel the waters, cool test kind of a thing. But I mean, for me, for as long as there's gonna be like wired connections, I don't use the wireless. I would love to. I love the idea of it, but there's just you can't compete when you're playing esports. You just can't
Yeah.
bench
Everything
one of my
matters.
players because of it. Yeah, so I was like,
Yep.
you can't play if you're on wireless. So it's still gonna be like a market. I'm just like curious. Everyone's curious, even people who are playing in it, because we use a lot of the hardware. You know, I mean, our game depends on which hardware we're using. So I don't know. I kind of like how bad the marketing can be though, 'cause it makes it fun for the rest of us.
It creates us something to talk about, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's
I mean, but
so-
it was over a month ago where we were all starting to get Cosmos hyped.
Well,
And
have
we
they
got-
had
but we got
like a
this.
Let it
press
die.
conference
We got the
or
spinning.
anything? There's
Oh,
no like
maybe
stage
they're waiting-
presence.
Maybe they're waiting to troll Oculus or something.
Yeah,
Like
just
In
like Valve,
September
just
they
like Valve
can.
did, just crash
Yeah,
OC6
exactly.
right before it. That was a badass move. I loved that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know, it's amazing.
Well, I think they're gonna do it again at the next conference in September. That they're gonna announce like Half-Life VR when Respawn's doing their presentation, because
Ooh.
Oculus and Respawn are together, and they're like, yeah, Titanfall VR, and they're gonna be like Half-Life VR,
Everyone
and
in
here
the
are other
chat,
two titles.
if that
Oh,
happens,
everyone's really
Mateo
saying for
said that.
Respawn. So,
What do you guys think that's gonna be? Anyone got an idea?
for what?
Is Respawn's gonna hit? Is that gonna be a hit?
I hope so.
The hype is.
Yeah, it
so,
is.
Yeah, the hype for sure.
Yeah.
As far as like the actual thing, I don't know.
Titanfall 2 is just so ridiculously underrated. The launch of that game was a shitstorm, a whole bunch of other things that led to it not doing well. Like people didn't know it was now out on PlayStation. Like they didn't know that it went cross-platform there. There were so many things wrong. Its own publishing company, it was competing with its own, competitor games by the same publisher. So that was a mess. But it was like one of the best first-person shooter story campaigns in years. In years.
It was good. It was really
So
good.
they proved they can make a good game. So that's why I'm excited. But
One
You
thing
know.
I will say is with AAA developers, they seem to be very safe when it comes to VR. They're not pushing the medium forward. It's all just tried and true stuff that we've already seen. It's just refined, put together. There's no like whimsicalness to it. You know what I mean? Like when Turtle Rock released Journey of the Gods, for example. With Journey of the Gods, it's very tight. It's very good. Mechanics are great. But it's like you can't like go in any structures. Like there's a tent and you just can't go inside of it. There's just like a lot of things you can't get too close to like characters and stuff, I think. And then it's just like why is there none of that like VR jank to it, you know? But
I'm
it's
actually
like,
playing it right now. So
it's a great game, don't get me wrong. It's awesome and I loved it and I reviewed it very highly, but it's just it feels very safe, and I feel like that's what Respawn's thing is going to be. I feel like it's going to be another one of those, okay, yeah, we've seen all this before, but it's now got a fresh shiny coat of paint.
And I'm not going to
Big
speak for
name.
all VR people. I'll speak for myself. But I've been playing VR for a while. I'm very impatient, and I know a lot of my friends are too with VR. And not impatient in the sense that I want a new game now, but if the new game isn't like something new to me, I just turn it off sometimes. I'm a bad VR
Yeah.
enthusiast. Go ahead, Vivian. You don't have to raise your hand. Just cut me off.
Pick me. I always raise my hand. No, that's rude.
That's so polite.
No, I've actually killed people and said sorry. I'm sorry. I was just wondering because, like I told you, like I'm pretty new. It's not like I haven't played video games. Like we had games growing up. It was like my brothers, but like to me, everything's still so like cool. And I don't know if it's because I spend a lot of time showing it to like older adults. I mean, I teach older adults how to use their iPhone, so and they still get so amazed, and I still get really like hyped about it. And I noticed that since I've been hanging out with a lot more people who are gamers, everything is just so sucky. I mean, to me, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to say anything. I'm like, I think it's cool. I get it. There's a lot of things that I understand and get, but like, there's so many limitations still to developing in VR. And then like the quality, and then the point of right now where it's not really making the kind of money it should be, or like to the quality of what it is now. So it's so difficult for developers. I mean, I hear like developers talking about like their product and what all that they have to put into it. So and I don't know, like I get excited if I make something cool in Tiltbrush, and I'm like, ooh, and I exported it and put it into VR chat or something. So I get, I guess, maybe a little too excited, and I totally get like people needing to cast doubt or kind of or whatever. But like for me, maybe because I'm still newer, that I'm just like hype, Also, I'm perky.
I think if you like feel that way, you should definitely like share that, because it's the best feeling when you turn on a VR game and actually get like excited, and that's what everyone just wants. So like, we need to remind people to do this. And it's like when I turned on Vader Immortal in the Quest, like I wasn't like initially super excited to jump into that game. Like it looked cool, but I wasn't like, I would have rather played Pavlov or Space Junkies. But like I turned it on, I'm like, oh no, this is actually, I'm getting a good feeling. Like I feel like a kid again, and it was really really fun.
So that's a point right there where here's a good analogy, right? So we play Onward. Pavlov also has a game. Contractors, they are also in the league, but Onward is the biggest one, the biggest player base. But when you watch one of our like live streams, when we're watching a match, like 50 people, 60 people, right? Compared to like a pancake game where there's like ridiculous amounts of people that go. That's what it's called.
I like that. I never heard that before.
I never heard pancake.
I thought I was just whispering it to myself. I apologize.
But exactly. Well, when they come and watch, like the CS:GO players, and they come and watch the stream, they'll like troll us and be like, "Oh my God, the graphics really suck," and blah blah blah. Well, I mean, of course, because they have no understanding of being inside VR and trying to shoot somebody. There's no like mouse and everything. So of course the comparable to that. It's like it's a big deal. And then one of the things that like players complain about, or we like bitch about all the time, is that they'll add things to make it look pretty, but then it makes it harder for us to play the game. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like
bloom.
Like okay,
exactly.
So it's exactly, so it's like a constant mix. But then when I watch a stream, like it looks good, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult to get it just right, and so at least praise for that.
Yeah, I mean, gamers are definitely spoiled too. They want everything. Their expectations are ridiculous.
Yes.
And at the same time, but VR content itself isn't super great to watch because everyone's screen is so freaking janky. And I noticed this, like, I try not to do too much gameplay because I feel like I'm just going to make people watching it nauseous. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing, Pavlov, like I'm paranoid. And I don't want to rewatch my own videos because it's so janky. So that's why I think like things like mixed reality are awesome, which I'm playing around with now, because it just the camera is stationary and you don't get that that jankiness, and it's just cool. It just looks freaking cool when you see mixed reality. But yeah, I mean, there's the expectations. People also want to like shame it, be like, no, the real game is still the pancake game. This VR game, no, that the new stuff doesn't count.
See, the best like VR game footage that I've seen is when they have like a full room green screen.
Yes.
And then it's them inside of the actual game.
Yeah, mixed reality.
That's the best
like that.
way to actually do it. It's hard to do that with like online multiplayer shooters, obviously, because there's so much going on. But like, I think VR Oasis does that with the full green screen, and it looks fantastic. I mean, also like what I've noticed with like recording VR footage, after you record the footage, if you put on like an image stabilization on it, that helps a little bit with the jankiness. But it's like an after effect, so it's not exactly like when you have it on your camera. It doesn't work exactly the same way, but video stabilization definitely helps. That's what I've been doing with all of my gameplay, and it makes it look like, I would say like 20% better. But your head movement's always going to be an issue because like you're looking left, looking right, up, down, whatever, and it's disorienting.
Yeah, I guess you do have to get used to that, but my videos are adorable. How dare you?
I actually
That
did
was
watch.
not an attack.
No, I actually
No,
did
no,
watch some
I'm
of your
kidding.
videos
You would
recently,
kick
and
my
they were
ass
good.
in that game so bad.
Well, actually, it's funny because sometimes I'm like, do I want to post this? Because what what happens is people will watch each other's streams to know what they do, so they
Right.
Ah, I never
can
thought
beat
about
them.
that.
Tips.
Yeah. So I try. I mean, I do post like my badass moments because they come very far and few in between. But like, I also post like the really funny stuff that happens in the community that makes it kind of like that's the funny thing that when you're in VR, you kind of get it. So I try to post a little bit of everything. But yeah, I'm sure I make people sick in a
Yeah,
more,
but
more
even
than
subtle
one way.
things, like I'll notice when I rewatch some of my video, like, if I'm playing Pavlov, I'll be holding my head, like this, ready to, rifle up the gun.
Like crooked.
So the whole video is slightly
Just
slanted.
slightly slanted, yeah.
And it's just like, no one
Yeah.
wants to watch that.
Like my natural head position is like a tilt, I
Yes.
guess. And it's
Yeah, my neck
every
is
single
broken.
footage that I have to like consciously decide, okay, I'm not going to put my neck slanted.
Exactly.
But I think that's just my posture though. I think, I don't know.
Guys, I'm short. When you I look at players, I just you don't see anything above. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? That's all I see. So I mean,
Mixed reality, you just see hair.
well, I'm gonna be honest. You guys are all like, you guys got it going on. So you could do the mixed reality thing. I cannot do that. Plus, you'll
Yeah.
see me run into the wall over here, like for real.
I
So-
have a couple holes behind my green screen for a reason. That's why the green screen goes
Okay.
over there, because there's holes on that wall. I'll fix
I
them
just set up
eventually.
a big
Hilarious.
one. This whole wall I just set up, you could actually see the hooks. That whole wall that I do green screen.
I want to go to the next question real quick, and this one's kind of a toss-up from last week, in a way. So we spoke about the index controllers last week on the hardware issues they were having. I don't want to talk about the hardware issues because that's been talked to death, but let's say for this question, the hardware issues are fixed. The controllers now are working as they intended to be, no issues at all. I've seen the question raised, and I think it's a very valid question and a critique, that developers, they're going to have to figure this out, and I'm not sure the answer. I'm kind of curious your thoughts. That there's obviously a significant amount of time that's going to be needed to develop mechanics in a game that are specific to the index controllers, that add value to those controllers specifically that no other controller can do. But by doing that, you run the risk of alienating players who don't have the index controller. How do you guys think game developers right now are going to handle making it worth it for the index controllers for that game while not alienating users who don't have that?
This is the index players.
Yes,
They can do that,
I know.
I think it works really well for VR chat.
Yeah, and Space
Stuff like
Junkies,
that.
it's awesome too, the
Space
middle
Junkies.
finger.
The middle
Yeah.
finger
The
simulator.
day the index came out, I was blowing minds. People are just sitting there like,
Yep.
how do you do that? And I'm just like, oh, I'm out of the game.
It's
I
going to be
feel like a little
interesting.
while ago I saw this prototype for like being able to grab something with just your fingers, and like I don't remember where it was on Reddit somewhere, but it was like a prototype with the Rift, or not the Rift, the Knuckles controllers, being able to like actually grab things with different fingers having different effects, or being able to like twist a pen or a pencil from like
Oh, that'd
with
be
your
cool.
fingers like you can in real life. It looked really cool. I wish I remembered what exactly that was or where that came from, but I remember it was somewhere on Reddit.
Sounds like Cleep Magic style.
Pretty cool.
And Mithril, I did see your comment about Neon Exile. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about it. I played the demo or the little competition thing they had. It was cool. I just don't know enough about it to answer your question. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to throw you off on tangent there. But actually bringing up, which will kind of what you're talking about with the pen, like that's the debate I think that a lot of people bring up is that's awesome, but what if a game said, hey, we want to make a game that's really valuable to everybody, especially the index controllers, and if they make a mechanic like that where you can pick up different things with individual fingers, they can't, it turns into they can't make that an essential part of the game because then they alienate people who don't have the controllers. And if they only and if they half-ass it, then it's a bad mechanic. So there's a super
You're
fine
cutting
line.
in and out,
Oh, I'm
Eric.
sorry.
I can't.
Fix that.
I'm only hearing every other word. I don't know if that's just me or if that's.
That might be me.
Nah, yeah, you are cutting out a little bit.
We'll fix that. Can I hear me now?
You're perfect to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
Aw.
what I was saying is that you have the index controllers. Say you make a mechanic for the game where it's super valuable to the index controller. So you can pick up objects with all your fingers individually. That would be awesome for the index controller users. but a developer then has to say, well, now I'm alienating other users. So there's a fine line making it not a gimmick, where now it's like the index users are like, it's not that cool, versus actually doing the full potential of it. I don't know how they're going to adapt to that when they're the only controller out there with that function. What do you guys think?
I mean, if I could jump in here, I think the controller, I hate to say this, is kind of pointless. I mean, even if they do find a great, reason to use it, if you look at, all the other what's becoming the common control scheme, you have your grip key, which does these 3 fingers. You have your trigger, which does this finger, and now there's touch sensitivity on the thumbstick. So when you put your thumb on the thumbstick, your thumb even goes down. So you basically got your hand covered. These 3 fingers are not that very important. They're not really important. I actually have no dexterity in my hands.
You're about to get memed.
I can never play a guitar.
You do realize you're about to be memed with that comment in that picture right there. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I can't really see a great use case for them. Like, they're cool, but I mean, and I do like the fact that they just stay on your hands and they are convenient. But tracking these 3 fingers, I don't think is a priority, and I don't really see. It's cool to be able to do hand gestures in some games, the super military guys, but I feel like it's just unnecessary.
I feel like once it becomes a standard in controllers, developers will start like using it in more inventive ways. But since it's just like a one-off thing, it's kind of like, why would I even bother? But however, I do think on this topic, I think we don't need more controllers that are like that. I think the next evolution of that would just be to give you a glove, because I feel like if your fingers, sorry, hold on, if your whole hand can be tracked versus just your fingers, I think it would give a lot more immersion. There would be able to you could hold multiple things with your hands and stuff like that. But as far as just being able to move your 4 fingers, I don't really see a point. Sorry, go ahead, Viv.
No, I was just thinking guys thinking they don't need to use all their fingers is just so typical.
Thank you. Thank you. You got my joke. I felt like it didn't hit anybody.
Listen, I'm not in that camp, so I couldn't.
I heard the words leaving my mouth.
Thank you.
And I was like, no one's going to
Vivian,
reference it
you're
in
my
that
hero.
manner.
Okay, well,
No one will.
Okay, well, that wasn't what I was actually going to say. But I was thinking, should throw that out there.
Yes.
But no, so for the use case for me, and I've tried the gloves ones as well, is different, I think, because I don't agree in using it differently from other like my Rift controller here. Like, I shouldn't be able to do something good in the game with my index that I can't do with, without this one or whatever, because it's competitively. But for when we use the Connect or something in Allspace, we use for not just the middle finger, but sign language as well.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
That's pretty cool.
Music. So, or artists might use it in different ways. So it's similar to the way that you might use your touch screen, like different amount of fingers for, swiping, et cetera, et cetera. So I think for traditional games, I'm just gonna shout out to Star Blazer, because why not? They are, they're mapping out their controllers. I know it's like a pain in the butt, but the innovation is gonna come from not how we use it in these different games, but how other communities will benefit from the use of it. Another thing is I work with a clinic where they're trying to use VR to help rehabilitation for people who maybe lost the use of their legs, or all that kind of those types of things. So when I was consulting for them, they were wanting to find apps that already existed that allowed them to simulate legs, hands, stuff like your limbs. So that's the use case that I see for it. So I'm excited to see what we'll come up with in that sense. I saw someone say piano. Yeah, I played the piano with the glove ones. I wish I remember the name. Sorry.
I mean, is it still a bit too niche? Is it necessary?
I never thought about the sign language. That is a really, really good point. And then also you made a good point with using your fingers to swipe stuff. Instead of pointing and clicking, you're just you're tapping, because a lot of games actually do use that mechanic, but you're using a controller, so it's your hand is kind of like that, but it's not really. But actually being able to use your fingers to use a keyboard, for example, and be able to actually type something out rather than click, 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 click. I think that's a really good use case.
But I mean, anything that increases immersion in VR is awesome. It's the direction we want to go. Anything that naturally increases immersion is a great way to go. And these do. They naturally increase immersion. They track your fingers and they do it really well. But is that the increased immersion we need?
I
they
think
really
any immersion is welcome immersion.
Yes,
honestly.
it's welcome.
I'm not sure
I
what
just feel like
we
it's
need right now that they could do. That's the thing.
Okay.
I like the reverse immersion because like I wave like this to people because that's how I do it in VR, okay, with my controllers. So that's how it is now. All right, reversing it.
Well, I mean, when I got the Index, I had to unlearn like certain things. Like with the Vive wands, I was so used to having the death grip on that thing. Now, like in Pavlov, I couldn't let go of anything because I have to actually let go.
Yes.
So I'm like,
Oh, that's a good point.
Like I'm like, what? I can't drop my clip or throw the grenade. I'm like, you realize you actually have to let go.
These are the worst.
What is that?
Anything, the mixed reality.
Oh,
ones.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. For Samsung, I'm sorry about that, but yeah.
So I was gonna pretty much my final question was a little depressing. I'm actually gonna skip it because I'll go to it if you want. I'll do it real quick at the end. It's depressing. I'm not gonna lie. Jackal Dude VR though, I liked his question a lot. He said comedy seems to vibe well with VR. Games seem to be hard to make look entertaining as well when viewers are not in VR. We brought that up earlier. Do you think creators should focus with comedy videos or gameplay ones? And I'm also going to add to his question. I kind of agree. Do you think there should be more comedy games? Because comedy and VR do work pretty well.
Comedy games or just comedy content?
Well, games that have comedy content elements to them. It doesn't have to be straight just like a comedy show, but games that add a comedic element. I mean, examples
like accounting or
Accounting Plus was really good.
Was funny.
VVR had some comedy. What is the company? They're coming out with Under Presents, which is like a I guess that's VVR is making Under Presents, which is like a real life venue thing, and they said there would be a lot of comedy acts in there by real people. So I mean, I don't know necessarily like about comedy games.
I'm trying to pull. I'm gonna try to pull it up here.
There's so very few.
While we're talking, but I know like when I was getting into VR and not playing too much yet, I was on YouTube looking up VR videos, and all the gameplay videos were actually thinking about it. He's very right. Were comedy based for the most part. There was a lot of like 8-Bit Ninja. I'm pulling them up now. C-Top, Project Gamify. They were playing games that they used a lot of comedy elements either in the game or they were comedic. That's what made me like VR first. I wasn't watching Pavlov or shooters or horror games, although the horror games were funny because they were scared. But kind of always there was a funny element that made me see VR first. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I like funny people streaming. Like it doesn't have to be anything specific. But I will say, I don't know if I'm in a position to like give advice or anything.
You're always in position.
I think okay. All right.
That's why you're here.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. But I think that you really just gotta like be authentic about it, because if you're not funny, that is so cringy.
Yeah.
And then like people trying to like, trying to be a meme or trying to like follow a trend. It's like they end up like trying to do like cruel things, and so I think some people just don't really. And that's okay. I don't think that they know it, but if you happen to have that, ability to know that that it's not that funny, then maybe you should just be who you are, which is totally fine.
The best comedy, in my opinion, is when you don't try so hard. You just be yourself. If you're a naturally funny person, like people don't realize that the humans are just naturally funny, and they try to replicate what other people have done that was funny, and I think that's where the problem comes from. It's like, just be yourself and it'll be funny enough.
Yeah, but I like the room for people to like be silly. So when I first started watching casted matches of esports, like it wasn't the casters are great, that's a really hard job, but it's the I always watch the teams that are really funny to watch, and you think like everyone's playing the same. How are they funny? It's just there's an element of shout out to the Danglers, or like they're the best team. They're hilarious. They're funny to watch. There's a team called Blaze. They are hilarious to watch because they're good, but then they do stuff where like they res their enemy just to stab him in a casting match. Just stuff like that. That's like it's a part of their personality, and that's what will make it more of like a community thing. But if you're not funny, don't try to be funny. That's all I'm saying. People will just like you for who you are.
Yeah, like it's tough for me to comment on the comedy aspect because one, I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't make those slapstick type of videos. It would be fake, and it just wouldn't work. So, and then it's also not the type of content I like really look for. Like, PewDiePie does this thing. He does it awesome. I'm not going to lie. I've said, like, you put on, like, you see one of his videos and you get caught watching for 10 minutes and you're like, well, what just happened? Like, he broke my brain. So he does it. But personally, it's not really my thing. So it's tough for me to comment on. But again, comedy is one of those things that people love. So if it could be integrated into the genre, yeah, it definitely should be.
What do you think about, do we need more, one kind of side on that one, and we'll finish up with one last question. Do we need more I'm trying to word this right. I look at some of the games that I see people talking about still playing. Accounting Plus has a huge following. I mean, people are still trying to find the secret zoo level, even though we all know that's not in the game. Rick and Morty, they're still trying to find secrets. Virtual reality's kind of got some comedy elements too. I think you brought that up earlier, Wish.
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's not like laugh out loud funny, but there's a lot of like quick humor in it. Yeah. I like that.
But it's the release and you being in the room with that humor. Are there even any? Does anyone even know of any more humor-based games or games that have slapstick comedy coming?
Well, I mean, just like little drops in there.
Job Simulator, that's a good one. Yeah.
But there's even drops in there in like the lab with Gladys.
Oh.
Yeah, and it like even just like this because they could add the little extra subtle things like when you're walking around the lab and you pull open the drawer and it's like, oh no, they saw you. They now think
the little robots.
They think you're their god, and you close the drawer. Okay, incinerating. Like so like seeing these little people jump around and stuff. There was some humor in that, and Gladys being just like callous or like the robot falling apart. So VR does have this immersive quality, this presence, this ability to bring more physical comedy than we're used to in video games.
Yeah, even the.
I just want to say real quick.
Go ahead.
I see in the comments, Chibi Blaziken says that they want a Cooking Mama game.
Yes.
And I think that would be amazing because first of all, it's a motion controlled game. And it's just it's funny. It's actually a funny game, and I liked it a lot. And if it came to VR, I would grab that up day one right away.
I'm gonna end it here, not end the questions, but I'm gonna let everyone say their piece on this one. I was gonna end with a depressing question, but I'm having a good time. I'm deleting this. Yeah. Goodbye. What is everyone? We're gonna end it here, and then we'll do some outros. I want everyone to make sure. Actually, I'll do the outros now. That way, no one misses them. Guys, everyone who's been in here, Mateo, Vivian, WiSHFUL, everyone's links to their channels are in the description. Please check them out. They all work very hard. Vivian, she's probably want to follow on Twitter the most. I'm going to update with her Twitter profile as well as her YouTube channel. But they're all amazing people, and definitely give them a look. It was super nice of them to give us their time tonight. Everyone's super busy, so I appreciate that. So please give them the looks they deserve. But I do want to, and make sure to leave a like for the stream as well. That way it does get out there after this. But I want to end it here. We'll start with Mateo, go to WiSHFUL, and go to Vivian at the end. It doesn't need to be a game either. Within, by the end of the year, what's one thing in VR that you would be very happy to see, no matter how big or small, something that would just make you feel like a kid again that first time picking up VR?
You cut out just a little bit again there.
Sorry, man. I was talking about what, by the end of the year, would you like to see, Mateo, that would give you that, first time VR feel? It doesn't need to be huge, but something that's going to give you that VR jitter again.
I mean, I think at this point, I'm satisfied with hardware. I'm really happy where hardware is. So, because when I threw on the Index, I did get that wow experience again. So, hardware, I'm done. Software, definitely was. I mean, I don't know if it's cliche, but Half-Life, something like that. What Valve has in store. That's what I want because I want like renewed faith in the company that they can make games. I want them to blow me away the way the original Half-Life and the original Half-Life 2 did. But if I had to go with something like indie, or just to throw out something indie, Vertigo 2 was like one of the best VR experiences I've checked out in a long time. I think it's probably not coming out this year, not until next year. But I mean, that was a full. It felt like a full-fledged game. It felt like they know where VR is. They are familiar with gamers. They're familiar with the hardware. They're familiar with everything what we want to see, and they nailed it. And it was one of the best demos I've played in VR, hands down.
How about you take it? We'll give it to WiSHFUL.
Okay. So the very first time I ever felt that feeling, like when you're in VR and it's like I feel like a child again, that was with Tilt Brush. I'm not a super like creative artistic person. I mean, I am to an extent, but not like with actual like paint. But like just the idea, like it kind of blew. It was one of my first experiences, and like kind of blew my mind because like you're in a 3D space and you're able to like paint around you. You're able to create things that would never ever be able to like. The first time I tried that, I had like my mind was blown and I had like this massive grin on my face. But like coming off of that, like up in the future, I think that Dreams, Medium Molecules Dreams on PSVR, which is supposed to come, I mean, at some point, if that came this year, because like it's one of the best game creation tools that exists for consumers, like on a very strong consumer level. It's in early access right now, so it's not necessarily out. But I've been playing the crap out of it. I guess not recently, but thinking about being able to create a VR game in VR, it's mind blowing to me. And then being able to play other people's VR games, just like random people online. Through this curated whatever like list of random games, it just kind of pops you in and out of the game. Like you go through a door and then it'll bring you to somebody else's game, and then you go to this next level and it brings you to somebody else's game, and it's like this really visceral thing. And I think if Dreams VR came out, I think that I would feel like a kid again. Like that just seems like one of the best things possible. And I think that's going to be a huge PSVR seller. Huge seller.
That'd be awesome.
People I think it's a sleeper hit. Like people don't understand what Dreams is, kind of, I think, still, because it's very muddy messaging, just like the Cosmos. But like, I think Dreams is going to be a sleeper hit.
I appreciate it, man. That sounds amazing. You got to follow that, Vivian.
Awesome.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, Tilt Brush is still amazing. That was my very
so
first.
great.
It's my first experience, and like we work in art therapy as well, and it's just like mind blowing. I mean, I talk about like how people they go in, they draw like a happy face, and it's like, no, you can draw a sphere and all that. So for me, is not, I think, what isn't created. It's like it's the underrated stuff. I feel like people don't understand how amazing some of these things that you can do. A shout out again to Anyland. I mean, it's a small, like one dude is doing. Hey, Philip, it's amazing. You should go in there. The guy from the creator of Adventure Time, he goes in there. He makes this stuff. You don't have to develop anything outside of it. It's all written into the game. So people have made like mind blowing, like laser shows and like nightclubs, and just the way that, I mean, this guy told me he's a construction worker, no computer experience really. He bought a VR headset. He's in there like creating really cool dynamic things that people can interact with. So I really want people to go out and like discover these really just like, they're just so awesome, and I feel like people need to give it more time of day. But of course, I'm gonna push VR esports. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get how you can watch us awesome, like looking on stage, like prone and stuff with our awesome pro tubes, and then you go back to watching them like sit on a screen in an arena. I don't get it, but I mean, whatever. So I really would love to see that kind of go to the forefront, get more competitive. I know like Star Blazers is trying to get their game competitive level. Like I know Reality Check just went for a Final Assault, so it's really really cool stuff coming up. And so all these other niche within the niche, it'd be great if people could like bring it to the forefront. Oh, and also I don't know what channel you put on, but you can follow Vivian and you can also follow the Hives. I don't know.
Well, I put Vivian in the description. I'll put the Hive in there as well. right after
Yeah,
this.
yeah. You don't have to. I'm just saying. But a live shout out though. In 25 minutes, I had team practice. But my team is like half of them aren't there, so I have like 7 spots open for an open lobby. If you guys want to come,
Hell
my
yeah.
name's Control Flirt Delete. If you want to come, just hit me up in Discord or whatever. Let's go play some Onward. It'll be fun.
There you
If I
guys.
stop. Yeah.
Community is what it's about. I'll end it with my want for the end of the year. It's kind of been done already, but I haven't seen it done to the way I'd want. I know that's selfish of me, but do you guys remember The Great Sea? Does anyone remember that game that came out a little while ago? It wasn't really a game. It was like an interactive movie in a way. It was I like movies. I'm a huge movie buff.
Okay.
I really enjoy them. And what The Great Sea was is it was a tailored story. I mean, you're not doing anything. You're just you could sit, stand, whatever. And you almost had 360 degrees around you to watch. They did not utilize it enough, but something like that. I'll watch an entire movie where I am in the middle of the scene and I can turn around, and it's fun because not only do I get to see a movie I may love and be emotionally connected to, but I can rewatch it because I can't see 360 degrees around me. And if the movie they made it so detailed that maybe the next time I watch it, I look at a different area that I didn't see before, and I'm like, oh, there was a monster coming. It didn't just jump out of nowhere. It was actually behind us the entire time, or something like that. Something that's interactive that I can get really invested in, to feel part of my movie, because I'm a movie buff, and that's about the only time I really get emotional. Like, some movies really get to me, and I would like to be inside VR and be that emotional and be able to enjoy it in different ways and see different things. That would just be, I feel like I would be a kid in a candy shop if I had something like that. And that's what
I think that's a majorly undertapped market. I feel like there's not quite enough VR movies or experiences like that.
Yeah, The Great Sea was awesome. Definitely was.
Yeah, The Great Sea was amazing. The only thing that I didn't like from it, sometimes the scenes were so fast and you could only really look in front of you sometimes that, you could see everything the first round and there wasn't too much, but something put me just a little more in there. But Great Sea, big shout out. If you guys haven't checked out Great Sea, please check it out. They deserve it. It was fantastic.
Go check it out.
But with that, everybody, that's going to end the second ever VR Arena. Everyone in the chat, please give a thank you to Mateo Gaming, or Gaming with Mateo 311, Vivian Chazen, and WiSHFUL. Please check out their stuff in the description. Go play some Onward too with Vivian. It's fun.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Hey, German Rifter.
What's up, German Rifter?
I like that you guys say, like, everyone's like, oh, she's really good. The people who don't play, they're like, yeah, let's just keep that image up.
But with that, guys,
all right, thanks.
That was a great end of the session. It was fun to be here. We'll see you on the next one. We will do this weekly, and I will see you next time, VR Space Cowboys.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Peace
Bye,
out, guys.
everyone.
Bye, guys.